Do you want to know what defenses are doing on third down to stop you? Well, I've got the answer. Hey, Coach McKie here, and welcome to my channel. If this is the first time visiting my channel, welcome, and let me tell you what it's all about. We're talking about the spread offense, passing schemes, running schemes, tempo, RPO, any and everything that has to do with the spread offense, we talk about here. So if that interests you, hit that subscribe button right below, and then off to the side is the bell notification. Now, defenses are doing everything they can to stop the spread offense. They're bringing pressure. They're playing these funky freaking defensive coverages where it's like man-to-man or zone, depending on what you do. And you need to know what they're doing so you can reverse engineer it and stop them in their tracks. So how do you do that? How do you reverse engineer things like that? Well, you can dive into different defensive systems, and you can learn the ins and outs of each one, Saban, TCU, whoever's up and coming, all of that. Or you can ask people that have done that already and pick their brain. And that's what we do today. We are talking with Coach Chris Vass of the Make Defense Great Again podcast. It is an interview podcast where we're talking about everything about defense. What are they trying to do? How are they trying to stop offenses? What do we need to do to stop the defenses trying to stop the offenses and all of that? Also, we have put on a third down pressure package clinic. If you want to get the details on that clinic, it is down below in the description. You can go ahead and click on that. Coach Vass did a freaking phenomenal clinic on that. So if you're an offensive guy and you want to learn what defenses are trying to do, you can get that and try to reverse engineer it. If you're a defensive guy, first, welcome to the to the channel. And second, if you want to know what teams are doing to stop the spread and you want to incorporate those ideas in your defense, then go ahead and check that clinic out as well. Now, again, remember, it is down in the description below. Let's get into the interview. And we should be live. Welcome, coaches, to another edition of Talking Football with Coach McKie. I'm your host, Coach McKie, and I'm here with a great defensive-minded coach. Coach, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? And also, fellas, Coach Vass has a podcast that is freaking amazing. So plug that as well, because dude, seriously, I listen to it all the time now as I'm driving to work. It is freaking amazing. So please tell us.
Thank you. My name is Chris Vassar. Everybody calls me Coach Vass. I coach at Clovis High School in Clovis, California. It's my second year here. We launched the podcast. I was with USA Football for about 3-4 months. So I had a series there called Deep Dive on Defense, and I decided to do my own thing and started a podcast. We're on episode 4 now, and it's called Make Defense Great Again. Actually, episode 3, we did a bonus podcast. It's on all your podcasting platforms, and also we are just in deal with Glacier yesterday, so they're going to host us in the vault, and there'll be an article once a month, and we'll have some other content more when we get into the winter and spring. But also with the podcast, we're going to do a weekly Q&A format starting in 2 weeks, where myself and a guest, maybe me solo, it depends on who's free, where you can go on my website, www.coachvass.com, and there's a contact button, and in there's going to be a Q&A format so people can submit questions. Hey, next week I'm seeing, I always use this example, I don't know why, flexbone midline. What have you done in the past? That's the first one that always comes to mind. I have no idea why. Maybe I'm scarred for life. And so they can go on and send the questions, and myself and a guest will kind of just bounce ideas back and forth. And then we'll be recorded on Thursday nights, and it'll be released on Saturday mornings so people can listen while they're game planning. Now, you'll have to go a little bit ahead in your scout film, and everybody usually takes a peek. So, but we're going to try to turn it around real fast so people can hop on and listen and hopefully help them. So.
That is freaking awesome. And now, coaches, before we start with the questions, I've got 3 questions I want to ask them, and I'm fixing to do that. But if this sounds good, because I have been having issues with Be Live, please give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments if it sounds good so that I'm not talking. A couple of times, man, I've been doing this, and I've literally had like a 15-minute conversation with myself. The camera didn't come on or no sound, so I'm not a technical guru like yourself. Sometimes I have a little bit of issues, so I appreciate that. All right. So here, say what?
I'll see if I can see it on Facebook.
I see us, our beautiful faces. Okay. We're sitting there. All right. So here is the very first question. I know you're a 4-man front kind of guy. Why 4-man and not 3?
Do you want the honest answer?
The honest answer.
The soft answer?
No, all honesty here.
Okay. Honestly, it's what I know. It's what I was raised in. It's what I grew up in, and it's what I know how to fix. And I've said this before, but could I run a 3-man? And we do. Let me start by saying this: we do run 3-man stuff in very specific situations. But I grew up. I was a student assistant at the University of Miami. There was 4-3 was going on.
Yeah, it was.
My first mentor was Keith Burns, who was one of the originators of the G defense. He had played in it in the old 8-man front. I have the old 8-man front Bible from the 70s, back all the way to the late 70s. And then I started studying Gary Patterson. They were all 4-man front guys. It's what I know. It's what I know how to fix. And for me, I don't know if it's most importantly, but very important is I know how to anticipate how I'm going to get attacked. If I had to all of a sudden run a 3-man front, there would be pain and misery that would come with how teams are going to attack you differently, how you solve problems. One good example, we started running some 3-man front stuff, and people were like, you got to plug the inside linebackers. Well, as a 4-down guy, that's not something you do a lot. You don't blitz those guys. You've got 2 of them, and so I was like, all right. And so I did it just kind of because people smarter than me were like, do it. And it worked because the blocking scheme changed. And it's just things, it's like the butterfly effect. Like you mess with one thing and then it sets off a chain reaction. And not being an on-man guy, I'm not thinking like 12 steps ahead. So it's kind of reactionary. What we do is a mixture of talking to smart people and pain and misery of experience for many years. So it's what I know. It's not what I know how to fix.
Okay. All right. So I've found talking to a lot of coaches, usually we run things both offensively and defensively, what we were in high school or what we first get into in college, and that we kind of get set in our ways. But I came up in the 4-man front. I played in high school and in college, and
Right.
We started out in the 4-man front. I like it. Now, I've always wondered, do you have a designated 3 and 1 and y'all flip sides, or do the interior guys have to know both of them?
They have to know both of them because if you trade the tight end or flip it back, if we're sliding with it. But in high school, for my money, we have, obviously there's no secrets to our personnel. We put our best guy at the 3.
Okay.
And we have this year, we have a guy who's, I don't know, 200, I don't know what he is now, 290, 6'5", started as a freshman. He's the number 1 guy in Oregon's board for 2021 in terms of run stopping 3-4 type DNs. My other guy is about 5'10", and he didn't know how to get out of the car right. I'm just kidding. He's a great kid. He's a great kid. He's a great kid. But I have one dominant guy. You go to TCU, they flip their guys, but they play their ends left and right because they're like, well, they got to be able to know both, especially with all the years of Boise and Fresno trading the tight ends and stuff. But same thing with our ends. We have a guy that's more of a speed guy and a guy that's more of an anchor. And I will caveat this with we are 4 down, but more in every year. 5 years ago, these are the 4 down. This year, when we picked our personnel, that weak side end, we kept in mind like a guy that we wanted to drop more. So it's starting to go that way. But if I'm seeing 11, 12, or I'm seeing like 12, 21, I do not want to be in an odd structure. I want to get in the gap. We're very De La Salle-esque, and if that references to regional, I understand. We want to get our nose in the gap and attack the gap and attack half a man as a base. That's just what I feel comfortable in. Like I said, it's what I know how to fix.
Okay. All right. And you've been in that for so long, you know what most offenses are going to do in the counter when offenses do that.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to sound slightly arrogant. I promise you it's not. I don't have to sit there and watch a team block a play 97 times to anticipate how I'm going to get blocked. Like, there's only so many ways people are going to block power versus an even front. There's no mystery. You know what I mean? Like, I know this stuff ahead of time, and it saves me time in game planning. Again, we have a lot of odd concepts. We run some bear concepts. But in our starting point, it's a great foundation for us. Now, it's been now since 2006 that I've been doing this, and it's every year. I mean, there were years we had 0 odd front. Like when my first year at St. Francis in 2012, when I was in the Bay Area, I don't think we had any odd concepts unless it was like drop 8, just rush 3, drop 8 type of deal. That we were not playing any odd. Now we're 65, 35. I don't know. It's hard to quantify because it depends on the team.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And that's a perfect segue right there into question number 2, which is when you're looking at offenses, and this is why I love talking to defensive minded coaches. I want to know what you're thinking when you're scouting your upcoming opponent. What's the one thing you're trying to take away from your opponent when you watch film? Or what's the one thing that jumps out at you and you're like, we got to stop that?
Guys have audibly expressed their frustration with me when they ask questions like this. So please, guys, hear me out on this. What do they do? I'm going to stop what they do best. If it's throwing, Y stick out of empty, if it's 3 backs and power, I mean, we're going to do, I'm not married to a philosophy. I'm married to winning. And so I don't care. Like, and that's part of the evolution of the odd friend stuff we talked about. Like, when I was like a caveman in 2008, we played G defense, good, robber, yes. Now I'm like, I don't care. Like, what do they do, and what do I have to do to stop it? We played a wishbone team, and we played a 50 and pinched everybody and brought a guy off each edge. It was a defense called Okie Dog Pinch from the 70s that Notre Dame used. If anybody that knows me, I went to Miami. Kind of don't like Notre Dame. No, that's any spicy comments on Twitter. So if I'm running Notre Dame's defense, it's going to be good. I mean, because I know that's what would give that offense the problems. I have a phrase: old-timey offense equals old-timey defense. Like, I'm not.
That is. I'm sorry for my language, but that is fucking beautiful. Old-timey offense, old-timey defense.
I mean, if you're going to run an offense from the 1960s, why am I going to go like, what's Alex Grinch doing? What would he do? Hold on. What would he do? Let me look at what would he do versus the single wing. He's never seen a single wing. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I shouldn't say that, but you know what I'm talking about. Like,
no, you are absolutely right. If you run those old school offenses, you should run an old school defense because that's usually what they saw back then.
Now, the caveat that if you have the personnel for it, and it doesn't break your structure, but if you're going to play something really unique, we're not going to play over robber to wishbone. I'm married to winning, not so. We got to do something, so we might as well do the best thing that works. Now, I'm different with that. Some guys want something that they know, and I'm kind of going, contradicting what I said earlier. But if I know what an offense is going to do to attack me, and I'm terrified of it, then I'm not going to do what we would normally do, and that's where I'm going to find out what their number one thing that they're going to do, and we're going to stop it, or we're going to attempt to stop it. And there's that fine line of selling out to stop something, and then making yourself weak everywhere else. So that's kind of like what's their second concept? How important is it? We played a double wing team. I'm actually doing a coach tube thing now for defend the double wing. We played a double wing team. They were going to run power. You line up in a 9, a 6, a 7, a wide 8. You put a 3, a 5, and a 9 on the same side. They're going to run power. So we're going to, if it's like the American Revolution, they wanted us to stand across from each other and shoot at the same time. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess we'll do that. But like, I don't, but if we also played a double wing team. That's like, if you took that away, they felt comfortable doing something else. So it's making the decision of how much do you overrun a play, their top thing versus their second thing. And I think that's the art of coaching it's like a slider, like on like in your TV, like how much do you want to move stuff around till it feels just right. And I think that's where experience overtakes everything.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if I gave you a good answer because it's
that's fine.
Everything we're so specific. Like people are like, what do you do to defend trips? I don't know. Like, are they trying to throw to 3? Do they ever throw to the 1 in the trips? Are they running split inside run game like that? That all matters to me. So
okay. No, that's brilliant because you are. Answer. No, you've got some people that are like, this is what we do. This is it. And you're saying, no, you want to see what the offense is doing, and you want to take. I'm guessing you're trying to take you want the offense to beat you with their third best play.
Or their third best player. I mean, sometimes it's like, well, they're going to run 87 different plays, but it's going to that guy. Okay, well, I better have a way to leverage, like if it's one special receiver. I did an article. I feel like I'm plugging all this.
No, go for it, man. You're freaking brilliant. Go for it.
I did. Oh, stop making me blush. I did an article on defending. We played a team in a state championship game, and they had a guy who had 2,000 yards receiving in high school. He was 6'8". He wasn't much of a secret weapon. Yeah, and he could jump. I mean, they caught a Hail Mary on us over 4 guys. He just went up and got it. They were the number 1 offense in the country. So my thing wasn't plays, it was players. Now, that double wing team I was telling you about, they were plays. And that's where I think the art of coaching defense and finding out if you're just going through a script or excuse me. Oh, I have to sneeze. Okay, if you're apologies on that. It's allergy season here in the Valley. If you're just looking at a chart and you're like, okay, what do we got to stop? And the analytics side of it, like, it's hard to drill down. I think that's why coaches, the first time you watch a film, first time you see a team, resist the urge to pick up your pen. Just watch them, see what they're doing. Through. Like, I'm an idiot. I'll have a pen and paper, and it'll be the third play, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna run this blitz, and it's like, what? I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to that stuff.
Yes.
So I just I don't know. It's that's what you have to find. Is it a guy? Is it a player? Is it plays? Is it a structure? Some guys will run wide zone with the guy that's the water boy because they want to run wide zone, and that's nothing. That's not. I just watched a thing on Peyton Hillis. The Broncos were like, we're going to run wide zone, and they ran it with the second team fullback because they believed in it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you got to know what they're going to do. A lot of coaches are like, maybe we won't run wide zone, and so you got to be ready to go on that. And that's where in deciding things, I'm better at answering stuff like this. So you give me a fact pattern, I'm like, do that.
Okay. Well, no, there's actually nuggets in there. And what I like about what you said is that first time through watching film, you're trying to get a feel for not the players, but what's the thought process of an offensive coordinator. Is it a system? Is he trying to just force feed one dude? Like, what is he thinking? And then you attack that.
That's been the biggest problem with Huddle. And don't get me wrong, I love Huddle. The advancements are great with the tech side of it and having coaches being able to all share in the workload. But one of the things that when you delegate is you lose your grasp on everything. 10 years ago, I knew everything an offense was doing. I had 3 games, but I knew I could – by the 3rd or 4th time through, I could watch the game and call out what play was going to happen, not because I had some predictive brain, but because all we had was DVDs and you remembered things and how they flowed. If you start watching cut-ups too early and you're game planning, it gets all segmented off. And that's why one of the best things I did was I started looking at how to game plan a team holistically by personnel group and then start splintering off the down distance because before that, there was a year or two where I had a sweet 2nd and 7 to 9 plan on defense versus their 3rd personnel grouping. Well, how many times you can see that? And I call it like boutique game planning. Like you had these special like little situations and the whole picture got lost. And so my advice on game planning is you're going to have I hate using this word in football. I absolutely loathe it, but exotics. This is so dumb. But on 3rd down, kind of remove those. But your game plan for their number 1 personnel group should be able to take care of all their base plays, whether it's 1st down or 2nd and long. And this is high school football at the end of the day. And if you have some special crazy 2nd and 10 plus package, I don't know. I got into that world and everything got splintered off.
We all get in that, man. We all get in that. And that actually, again, you're freaking good. This is why your podcast is the number 1 defensive podcast on all iTunes. It is freaking amazing. It is amazing.
It's because Don Brown comes on. What's up, Don?
Doesn't matter, man. Only you can pull those guys. Only you. Hey, coaches, seriously, this guy has pulled Don Brown, Ron Roberts, Joe Moorhead.
iPhone.
He is freaking amazing. And coaches, if you have questions, put them in the comments. I see them. I'm gonna ask him these questions once this final question is asked because it kind of segues into it. You said the little boutiques and stuff like that, excluding 3rd downs. Well, I know 3rd downs is kind of you have a philosophy on 3rd down. What are you thinking of when offenses get to 3rd down? Like, what's your philosophy? Just overarching.
I wish I had the Alvin Mack program clip where he's like, kill everyone. I mean, my thing is going back to what can they do? What do they do? Who's their guy? But overarching is, Are we going to play coverage? Well, we're going to do both no matter what. I kind of break it up into 4 pieces, and it's not this scientific, but if I have to sit down and I'm forced to putting your thing in kind of as an aside, coaches, I worked for the late Dick Tomey, who I loved so much, and he worked for Bo Schembechler, and they were really big on bringing people in. And they brought in Gary Barnett. Like he was, Bo was really big on that, bringing different coaches in. So Coach Tomey brought that philosophy with him to San Jose State and everywhere he was. And he brought in Gary Barnett. And Gary Barnett said to the staff, like, the hardest thing you can do as a coach is write down your philosophy. And so this is the first time I've ever been forced to be like, okay, explain your philosophy and be able to talk about it in a cohesive manner. And if I was to really kind of drill down and think about it, we're going to have a way to play max coverage, play coverage and rush 4 or 5. So we're still on the coverage side. We're still thinking coverage first, either with a late ad with a backer or something where we're clogging more of the lanes. We're thinking a way to be more on the pressure side and bringing it, but still playing good coverage, but thinking more like, okay, we're thinking pressure first, coverage second, and then the FU calls. Like, we're bringing 7, homie. Like, you better get it out. And then it goes into beating the protections. I try to find the weak link on the offensive line and try to make them work. Some other things, triple passing stunts, anytime, and we'll get into this in the clinic, how to get it. It's easy. It sounds easy, but then that's when you got to get to work. Is my whole goal now in the last couple of years is on third down, get them into big on big protection. How can we do that? Can we? If we can't, don't get too crazy, because again, there's that line of if the team starts full slide and bringing the backs both ways and they're 7-man protecting and you're trying to do all these funky twists, you're banging your head against the wall. So going back to that like slider concept of how far over do you have to go to make happen what you want? Don't be in the world of diminishing returns, but I want to try to get a team into big on big protection, because I feel personally that if I can get a team into big on big protection, now everything's open.
Wow. And why is that?
Because teams don't want to do it. Most teams that again, this what do they want to do? So I was doing a thing on the double wing, and this ties in, I promise. And when I first started doing and this is offensive coaches, this is just a nugget for you. Us defensive coaches, the first thing we do is we get the offensive playbook. And there's a whole thing of, oh, well, you don't know when they're going to run it. No, that doesn't matter. Well, they're going to do what we do. Okay, well, I got Hugh Wyatt's double wing playbook, and he had a little cutout section about how to play what to do against a 6 technique. And I went, oh, that's weird. He has a special section for this. It's not a special section because it's easy. You know what I mean? And so I look at teams that run big on big. A lot of them are trying to get the back out fast to try to stress you out, or their vertical setting.
Yes.
So if a team doesn't vertical set, then now if a team's vertical setting and they're a big on big team, they're really good at it, which I know is a lot of things the air raid guys do, then maybe that's not our plan of attack. But if a team is a half slide team, they're a half slide team for a reason, because they feel that half slide is the best way to pass block. I'm not going to make them. I'm going to make them bag on big it. Conversely, if I'm playing an air raid style team where and I expect the feed to go out here anytime, and you're getting a big on big and the team's vertical setting, I want to try to figure out a way to get them out of that. And maybe there isn't an answer. Maybe that's what they do and they're going to do it. And then that's when you drop 8 and you say, okay, well, I'm not gonna bang my head against the wall. But I feel that if most teams,
sorry, keep going. My dog sees herself in the reflection of the TV, so she's barking.
It's scary. I have the same reaction when I see myself in the mirror. So I want to try to get them to big on big. I want to try to find the weak sister. I know I can't say that anymore. Those coaching phrases just go out. They're hard to let go. The weak person on the line, and
that's fine.
Try to get them to triple pass stunts where I'm locked on a guy, I'm moving this way, we're having to come back and make them have to come back against the grain, and they're trying to pass stuff back. We're all moving to the right, and then, oh God, we have to move to the left. and do stuff like that, and see if that back's good on picking stuff up. I don't want to get too much into the specifics because then you won't come to the clinic.
And that's a perfect segue, because this is what I'm getting. You are trying to learn what the offense is doing so you can reverse engineer it for defensive purposes. Am I wrong in that assessment?
No.
Okay,
now, I will say this. A lot of guys, the reason that we have these clinics and we have these thought processes, not just like we're giving these big TED Talks and then go do your own thing, is because a lot of people have the same reactions. And so, okay, this is what we're going to do, and this is what the reaction we think we're going to get. And I'm sorry to cut you off. I just want to make sure that this is clear, because otherwise, well, then what are we going to talk about? You just told us. But when you walk 5 guys up on the line, and it doesn't matter who it is, what are they going to do? There's not much you can do.
Nut up.
And so if you get right, you either don't do anything, you check your protection to one thing, or you check your protection to another thing, and then it's what do you do when you get ABC? Because I'm not. I mean, and that's why some of these guys are like, we're going to do what we do on defense. We're going to do what we do, and they're going to react to us. It's like, well, that's cute, but what happens when they're better at doing what they do than what you do? How comfortable are you doing what your answer is, or what? And we've seen games where, again, going back to the American Revolution, we're all going to stand there and shoot. Well, if I know they're more accurate and bigger bullets than me, why the hell am I going to get in that game? You know what I mean? I'm not. And side of that is sometimes if you do have the bigger bullets, stand there. I also have outsmarted myself where I'm playing a team that we should beat by 4 touchdowns, and I'm like, oh, they're going to know we're doing this. And it's like, part of it's go ahead and do it anyway, because you're going to win, and then set the other team up, because by the next time you play the next team, they're going to think you're going to do that, and you're going to do something completely different.
The chess match.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
All right, and that's a perfect thing, because coaches, this Sunday at 8:30, we're going to be having a third down pressure package clinic. All right, and he is going to go over all of these different types of pressures and what to do on third down and things like that. And what I like about this is this goes both for defense and offense. If it's defensively, you can sit there and get ideas and know how to attack offenses. And then offensively, this is what I try to tell people that ask me for help. How do you get better play calling, or calling the right plays, or doing something better? How do you attack defenses? You have to learn defense. If you want to attack defenses, you have to learn defense. You have to know what defense are trying to do so that you can, like he does, reverse engineer it so you can attack the defense. So don't think of this clinic as just offense or defensive guys. This is both defensive guys and offensive guys. So if you want to get the link to that clinic, in the comments below, just do #clinic and I will send you a link. Now, Coach, real quick, thank you so much for being here. We have a couple of questions. Do you mind taking some questions?
Absolutely. I'm used to talking for 2 hours on the podcast, so I am.
I don't know. This is a little secret. I don't know if you do this or anybody else that does this. It may just be me, but I listen to podcasts on 1.5 speed, or sometimes 1.75, and some of the voices, man, they're freaking hilarious. But I understand exactly what you're saying.
Welcome to the deep dive on defense. This is Coach Vass. Yeah. I'm so excited. Damn.
All right, so here's some of the questions. Okay, Coach Mike, have you ever used multiple defenses in a system? Will you play a 4-6 versus anyone not putting 4 wide on the field, and play a 3-3 versus any 4 wide receiver front?
Mm-hmm. And we use the TCU language system. I put in Iowa State's defense in 5 minutes this week because our language system allows us to do that. Yep. We said, okay, so we got in our 3-2 look. We took our second strong safety and put him as the dime. And we said, okay, you're going to do exactly what you did at the other strong safety spot. Cool. Second linebacker, usually against 4 wide, you walk out. You are now both the Mike because they cross-train. Cool. When I say this one word, the second strong safety, or in this position, we had a kid that's playing deep last year, played down this year, or flip that. He played down last year, plays deep this year. We made a call that sends him back to the middle of the field. It also tells the backers you're back in 4-down world. Walk out of the box. We made a second call to tell them, okay, that deep guy now has, the back versus 2x2, 3 vertical 3, and 3x1. We told the front exactly what to do in our language system, and we were playing the Cyclone defense 5 minutes.
Golly.
We're able to do that now. It can get wordy, and it's very coach-centric. You have to be on your game. If you don't feel comfortable in the system, it's like I liken it to flying a fighter jet. You can do a lot of cool stuff in a fighter jet. You can also crash real fast. So if you have a migraine going into a game or you're not comfortable, but the good thing with the language system is you can put this crazy language system in and call over cover 3. It's just, it gives you the flexibility. The problem is if you don't have flexibility in your language system, it's hard to get out of that box. So give yourself the flexibility on the front end. So if you start feeling spicy towards the end of the year and you want to get creative, you can do that. Otherwise, you're boxed in and kids are having to memorize stuff. Our guys don't memorize anything, and we segment everything. So the front end gets the call. The 3 technique doesn't care. You can be bringing safeties off the edge. And I know this is completely opposite to coach's philosophy and offense. And some of you guys that are used to hearing coach talk about language systems are probably like, what? But the more words you have on defense, especially if you split it up and you color code the wristband, my 3 technique doesn't care that we're bringing the weak side safety. We're playing 2 trap behind us. He hears left, and his thing tells him to slant to the call. So I line up in the 3 and I slant to the left. That's it. And when you segment everything off, you can do this. Now the problem is if I ever in the middle of a game, if I ever start having heart palpitations because I'd won too many Red Bulls, we're done. Because it's segmented off. I'm the only person. And it's nothing against my coaches, but the way it's the way it's taught is I'm the central nervous system of the whole thing, and you could say kind of the mic. And so, coaches, you have to be on your game. So this is not something that I would recommend if this is your first year coaching defense. Do not do something like this.
Okay, so my recollection for the TCU, sorry to cut you off, is that it's kind of like the defense's West Coast and the play naming structure.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right, or am I way off?
No, you're on track, except I will say this. There's way fewer play calls and way more tags.
Okay.
If that makes sense. And
right,
in the personnel, the thing with like we're going to use a bunch of multiple personnel like Coach Brown talked about, we don't do that. We try to play everything with one group on the field as much as we can. We'll sub guys.
Okay.
That position is that position.
Okay. All right. Now, what's an example of a tag defensively?
Okay, so the first one that comes to mind is when we play. So Bama has a coverage called stubby, and it's basically mini palms over 2 and 3, and the corner's pressed on 1.
Gotcha.
Okay. So the corner has all of 1 everywhere he goes. The star or nickel takes 2 vertical or 3 out. Now they teach a little differently. I'm teaching it how I would teach it. The deep safety to the field, what I would call the free safety, has 3 vertical, 3's out or in. He looks to 2, and the backside's in man. In Nick Saban's world, the backside of stubby is what they call Megan Cone, which is the corner's man to man on 1. The weak safety plays the run first. And then if it's pass, he's reading the release of the X. If the X outside releases, he checks to the front side. If the X inside releases, he'll double him. Now that's the base way they play it. We do not. We have the split field mechanism, so we would call stubby solid. Solid tells us to play backside, right?
Okay.
So if we say solid out, we're playing Nick Saban. But if I say, but let's say our nickel's not that great, and their number 2 is good, and we need help on those posts because that's the weakness in stubby, we call special solid deep. That tells us the corner, you're now inside. You have no inside help. You're one-on-one, weak safety. You're still playing the run first, but if it's pass, sprint to the middle of the field. And it's easy tag, deep middle.
Okay.
We played a team that ran a lot of drive on 3rd and 9 to 10 out of trips. So we called special solid hole. And so if it's passed, that weak safety literally sprinted straight across and was picked off the dig.
My goodness.
There's and Patterson uses think calls, so he'll say like they're like alerts, like they're not a call. Like he'll say like, and I'm not getting. I'll tell you all about what we do. I just get nervous about talking
saying
about
other people's stuff. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Especially him. He's probably watching. He's probably got 3 interns tracking me at all times. He'll call like special solid think post. So like alert.
Like Mike Leach, but post. Opposite.
I don't know enough about Leach to.
He tells his guys to think of something. That is See,
Yeah.
I'm getting into, since I've been listening to you, you've put me in that Patterson hole or rabbit hole that I just keep going further and further down.
Yeah.
And
There's
it
not a
is
lot
getting,
of resources out there. I mean,
it's not.
that's one thing I've always been nervous about talking about, because I hate to say this out loud, but it's the truth. I probably know the defense better than anybody in the world that has not worked there, just because I've studied it every day for 8 years. I've watched every game. I have every game they had since 2007. I mean, I worked in it. I worked in the system when I went to Millsaps College. I had an amazing mentor who was there at TCU for 3 years, and he was with the front for 1 year, backers 1 year, and DBs the next. So he had the whole
knows it all.
He knows a lot of it, and I've become friends with Dick Bumpus, who was the co-DC there, and Jason Phillips, who coached linebackers there. So there's a lot of, I mean, it was an obsession for a long time. And the problem is you hear these little nuggets, but the whole thing's not out there. And so people get nervous because it's not all out there. And so it's a lot of it's left up to your imagination. And he's done a good job. One thing, I know a lot of coaches are paranoid. Like, I've seen some coaches, like, I worked for I'm doing the Quinn and Williams thing in my brain. I'm like, should I say this out loud? I worked for a coach who's won multiple national championships, who was super paranoid about his play calls coming out. He was bringing a fifth guy and playing man free. Doing is legitimately unique. And if you know what he does, you will be able to attack it, which is why I'm doing the Quinn and Williams thing again.
He keeps a lid on it.
He's very secretive about it, and people have gone through crazy lengths. Other schools have gone through lengths to try to figure it out. I'll just leave it at that.
Nice. All right, we'll leave that alone so we don't get we don't say anything that we shouldn't.
There's going to be an intern from TCU texting me.
A cease and desist. All right, here's another one. Coach Connor, he wanted to know, do you have any advice for teaching the 3-4 for secondary and backers? I don't think he got into that first part because you're a foreman. Do you have, if you don't know anything, do you have someone you can point them to?
Paul, I don't. I mean, it's so close to the season. It's hard. I would hate to say, hey, go talk to this guy and be able to spend a lot of time with you at this point in the year. And I hope everybody understands that with it being August 9th. We actually started now. Some of my friends like Mark Marinelli, the coaches in Wichita, I don't think he starts for the 19th.
Oh, wow.
First game. We started on the 29th of July.
Oh, wow. I did not. We just started.
Yeah, it's Misery Incorporated. So the back end of a defense is the back end of a defense. You really want to look at, okay, are they 4 guys in the secondary or 5? But even that doesn't matter. I mean, Bud Foster calls himself a 4-3, but that Sam linebacker is like a nickel. So it's whatever. So I want to look at linebackers. I want to take this question into 2 parts. Secondary, you can talk to anybody. It's pretty much the same stuff. What you want to know is not so much 3-4 versus 4 down versus whatever, is middle field open or closed. Are you playing 3 and 1? Are you playing palms 4-2, whatever? That's where you really want to look. Don't do drills. Don't like. That's why like DB drills. It's like, well, what do they do? Like that's my That's really my answer to everything. Is like, what do they do? Like, are they, 2 high, 1 high? But yeah. So for that, doesn't matter if it's 3 down or 4 down. Just find good resources. On Twitter this type of year, it'd be a little difficult to get guys to spend a lot of time with you. If you're looking for resources to watch on your own, oh God, I kind of stopped doing that sort of video thing, like buying videos. I've been fortunate enough to, I'm going to sound like a real douche. I've been fortunate enough to make some of these friends with some of these people, and so I can reach out. But if it was this type of year and everybody's busy, Nick Rapone's got a great video. It's a little older, but he's got a great video on playing all different sorts of techniques. And then again, that's if he's still watching, if he's still there, I can follow up on this. Have him tell me what kind of coverages he's playing, and I can answer that better. As far as the front stuff, I'm not a 3-4 guy. When we do play odd front, it is versus stuff where there's not tight ends and inserts a lot. Like a true odd front, and so the reads are different. And I'll tell you this: a lot of odd front teams, because they've had to start recruiting smaller linebackers, are just going to like the mint look even against 12 personnel because they can't, they can't take on those fullbacks anymore because they got lighter guys. So when you get in the SEC and you're playing Vanderbilt and they're starting to run weak side lead, those dudes can't take that on. So they've been playing more like mint 4i stuff. There's a lot of articles out there. Check Adam Gaylor out. He's really good with the odd front stuff.
Okay. And Coach just came in. He says they do mostly 3 and press man.
Okay, so Nick Rapone would not be your best guy. No, Nick's good with man free, but he's the quarters guy. He'd tell you if he was sitting right here, he's 4 3/4, 75% of the time, and he's at Delaware and Temple. Or quarters variation, obviously Robert too back. I think Chris Ash has a good press. If you're looking for press man stuff, Chris Ash has some good stuff. Kyle Williams has some good stuff. If you're on the technical side, I'm too country for Kyle Williams. I think he's great. I think he's awesome. But when he starts saying positive shin angles, my eyes roll back in my head because I'm not that smart biomechanically speaking. And so I'm just like, go stab him in the chest and stay inside and keep your eyes down. Violence. Thumb up.
All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate that. Again, coaches, we are going to be doing a clinic on Sunday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time p.m. So if you want that information in the comments below, do #clinic. Coach, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to plug before we go besides your great podcast and your website and your brilliant, beautiful defensive mind?
Stop. I guess I'll plug it again. The podcast is Make Defense Great Again. Our guests, we've had 3 episodes and 1 bonus. Our first 3 official guests were Kyle Kogan talking. If you want to learn cover 3, so for the gentleman who's asking the question, we did a Rip Liz podcast. It was the first one I did for USA Football. If you go to my website, coachvass.com, that's Coach VASS. You go to the podcast link at the bottom. There's the library of shows that I did with USA Football. So we did Rip Liz match cover 3 to 2x2 was the first episode of the USA Football series. And then the first episode of my new series was the 3x1. So you can check that out. I am going to have a DB on at some point and just talk technical. It's a little harder in audio formats to talk technique, like specific technique, but I'm going to try to do it. I was lucky that this is kind of going back to this question. My mentor was one of the best bump and run coaches in America. And so I learned it by sitting in his office for 2 years. So I never really went and looked for videos on that thing because I pretty much had it down. Also, like I said, you go to the podcast, the website if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's the big thing is follow me on Twitter. And if you think I'm interesting enough, turn on the notifications because especially for the podcast account, like I know you're not supposed to say this, but my personal account, like I'll retweet dumb stuff. And so if you don't want to look at that, I mean, I'm an interesting guy, so do it.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
If you just want like straight up football news and like when the podcast is going to be on, follow MDGA podcast. We're going to be doing Q&A podcast starting in 2 weeks where you can submit questions on my website. Myself and a pretty good guest will come on and we'll throw ideas back and forth on how to defend it. And come check out the clinic on Sunday night.
Yes. And again, if you want that information in the comments below, #clinic. And Coach, thank you so much. Coaches, thank y'all for watching. If you have anything else that you want to ask, go ahead and put that in the comments again. And until next time, let's continue to master the spread, score points, and have fun. And I will see y'all later.
No fun, no points, no points.